Hey everyone, thank you for joining us here at Microsoft Ignite. I'm so excited to share how to automate Microsoft 365 Copilot data readiness and accelerate security adoption with my good friend, Matt Berg. Matt, why don't you introduce yourself for those that, in case, don't know you?
I hang out with AvePoint a lot. A lot of these people should know me. Thanks, Dux. Hi, everyone. My name is Matt Berg, and I lead go-to-market strategy for our corporate accounts here at Microsoft, and I'm based in Seattle. I'm very excited to join all of you today.
So I know all of you watching Microsoft Ignite are very excited with Copilot. It's been around over a year now, but what we want to do in this conversation is really make sure that you learn how you can be successful with the Copilot rollout. So in this session, we're going to tackle three important things. First, Matt will talk about why Microsoft 365 Copilot, the benefits you get, and things you need to be successful. And then I'll jump right in to talk about why a robust data foundation is essential as you adopt and maximize Copilot in your organization. And last but not the least, we'll talk about how you do this in 3 steps. So Matt, why Copilot?
That's a great question. But I'm not selling right now. So I thought instead of saying why Copilot, I'll actually take a step back and walk everyone through like what's in Copilot and, how has it changed? This is what I get a lot. I'll get questions where someone will say, is this just Microsoft's ChatGPT? What's the difference with these other LLMs? And so maybe I'll just take a minute or so to explain how we see Microsoft 365 Copilot specifically, and then talk a little bit about how some of our customers are using it. So I do want to, first of all, call out that we are talking about Microsoft 365 Copilot. The 365 is important because that indicates it's part of your Microsoft 365 suite. So that's where your Office apps are, your Microsoft 365 apps, etc. But anybody can go use Microsoft Copilot today, right? You can just go to copilot.microsoft.com, or even in Bing, you can click the Copilot icon. But the difference is enterprise data protection for Microsoft Copilot for work or Microsoft 365 Copilot. The difference is that it plugs into your apps. And that's where we're going to spend our time today. So first of all, Copilot is your single chat destination for the web and work. I don't have time for a demo today, but I'm sure during Ignite, you'll see a lot of them. And you'll see that you can either search the web and use Copilot on the web. And when you're doing that, there's an icon that says, hey, this chat is protected by enterprise data protection. What that means is the things you're typing in there, the questions you're asking, Microsoft isn't training our models where no one else is able to see that data, including your management. Now, going a step further, it is a chat destination for work. So I can say, I'm building a white paper on AI strategy, and I'm looking for content that was presented by these people. Can you help me put something together, right? And so that's the work part, which I think is great. Now, the Microsoft 365 apps, right? This is what you use every day. It's Outlook, it's Teams, it's Word, it's Excel, it's PowerPoint. And Microsoft 365 Copilot is connected right into all of those applications that you're in all the time. And this is one that a lot of people don't know the concept, or they don't know the product name, but they might know the concept. Microsoft Graph, which has been around for several years, is the underpinnings of Copilot at work. In other words, it knows some really interesting information. It knows what language you speak at work. It knows generally what type of work you're in, who you go to meetings with, who you email with the most, right? It knows who you don't work with the most. Now, I know this sounds a little weird and creepy, but let's be clear. This is protected. This is private. It's effectively stored in, for all intents and purposes, like your OneDrive. So Dux can't go, I want to go see Matt's Microsoft Graph data, right? That's not happening. But this way,
right,
it gets smarter. So if I say, I work at Microsoft and I'm like, I have some questions about Excel. Well, if I was on the Excel engineering team, it would actually give me everything that I have access to related to deadlines and features and perhaps some bugs we're working on. But that's not the case. I'm in sales and marketing. So it'll probably say, here are some slide decks you might want to share with your customers. Right. So that's Graph.
And with Graph too, it also knows things that you shared people with, your files, your documents, and really all the permissions, right? Across Teams and all the apps you use in 365.
Thanks for reminding me of that. Yeah, that's important, right? The permissions is critical. People freaked out when we first launched Microsoft Graph. They go, can everybody, wait, I just found this document. Well, yes, you didn't find it. It was shared with you. And that's how Copilot works as well. You're not going to find things that were not shared with you. Now, AvePoint can definitely help ensure that companies can protect and make sure things aren't accidentally discovered, but we'll kind of save that for a little bit later. Lastly, real quickly, is Copilot Studio. This isn't something you're going to use every day, but if you consider yourself a power user of AI, of Copilot, it is a fantastic tool to start designing your own Copilots or your own agents. If you realize you would like to use Copilot for a manufacturing database that you have, that's where Copilot Studio can come in, and that's going to be critical. So on this note, AI has come to work. As a matter of fact, 75% of people are already using AI at work. But notice I didn't say Copilot. And by the way, it's 80% of small and medium businesses who use AI. They're actually bringing their own AI tools. That is awesome, but it is frightening. What we're saying here is what you think. It's people want to use AI. So many have no problem copying and pasting a sensitive work document, dropping it directly into a consumer ChatGPT or Gemini or one of those as well. We don't want that. That's not good, and your company probably doesn't want that either. But the point is, people are ready for AI. Let's go to the next slide, and we'll talk a little bit more about how that's different from a leadership perspective. This thing is, at Microsoft, we run this annual interview. It's called the Work Trend Index. You can actually view it online at aka.ms/WTI. And during this survey that we do annually, we've got some great statistics. 79% of the leaders told us that we know AI is imperative for our business to stay competitive. They go, but we don't actually have a plan to implement it. And they go, but also, like, even if we did, I don't actually know how that's going to help my company be successful. So we have a lot of work to do together to ensure that if we want to use AI at work, that we're actually educating our leadership on what that looks like. We'll go to the next slide. So at a very high level, having a success plan is going to be super important for you and your organization. The first is leadership, right? How do we empower our leadership to leverage AI for business success? We have to start at the top. If your president, your CEO, your VPs are empowering AI, it's not going to happen, right? So I think that's going to be really critical. If you don't have a true success measurement of what success looks like for AI, like how much time did we save, how much boring work was eliminated, you're not going to be successful, right? This is huge. This is a complete change for the humans at work. Changing the way people work, training, communication, skilling, critical to be successful. And then finally, Dux, this is where you and your team come in a lot as well, but technical readiness, right? You can't just turn on AI and say, have a great day. Your IT leadership needs to have a good technical understanding of how it works, how we can put guardrails, how IT can put guardrails on it, and how we can empower our people. So I pulled this from a presentation our Asia team did a couple of weeks back, and I loved it. So one of our customers in Singapore, this is the largest law firm in all of the ASEAN region, it's called Raja and Tan. They have Copilot, and they straight up bought it to make sure their lawyers can save time and have a competitive edge. As a matter of fact, when I speak to our customers here in Seattle, and I ask, what department can you see the quickest ROI from with Copilot? 100% of them say legal, because oftentimes lawyers charge by the document or by the hour or by the minute. And so Copilot really helps them out. Rajesh built this out for us. He goes, here's a day in the life of a lawyer. 8 a.m., you ask Copilot to just summarize the meetings I have today. And they actually give precise guidance, right? Include the meeting titles, the purpose, etc. Then, help prepare me for a meeting, do some research. There's a little bit of an Easter egg in the evening at 8 p.m. It says, summarize my meetings and prepare some bedtime stories. Yes, Copilot can do that. So again, it's just a sneak peek, but we actually offer this to everybody. If you go to adoption.microsoft.com, you can get a Copilot success kit and actually build your own day in the life for the people in your organizations. So let me wrap up because Dux, I really want to make sure you have some time to talk about establishing a robust data foundation. But here's a couple things. If you have Copilot now, ensure you're using it every single day. Make it a habit. I think number 2, share your best practices with your teams. If you have cool ideas, something works, let them know about it and have a way to share. And finally, in order to be comfortable and confident with your AI abilities, make sure you have a plan around security, around governance. And that's where Dux and the Appway team come in, right?
Well, Matt, thank you so much. And this is certainly where I want to unpack with the capability and the opportunity everybody has with Copilot. As we all know, it relies on data. And this is why a robust data foundation is essential. And for example, in this simple scenario we got here, right? Let's say, I ask Copilot, can you list all the files I have access to with the word password? Remember what Matt mentioned earlier, it relies on Microsoft Graph, which means that it's going to respect everything that shows up in Microsoft Graph. It's going to show you what it thinks you're supposed to have access. So in this case, it's going to comb through the entire tenant and just show me files, right? So for example, the first file says password.xlsx, not that I keep my password in an Excel file, but that's my file, which is fine. But then suddenly I may start see files or content that I'm not aware of. Now, I'm not saying there's passwords in there, but suddenly I see things that I started thinking, well, should I have access to this? Now, in most cases, it's not malicious intent. It just so happened maybe the files were shared and people forgot about it. You know how easy it is sometimes I share a Word document and that Word document shared with somebody else, or somebody added me to a Teams and there's documents in there that I'm not aware of. So this is one of the things that we want to make sure that we want to mitigate, especially as we take advantage of 365 Copilot. And these are just some recent stats, right, where a lot of organizations, a lot of leaders agree that high level of data is essential to AI success. However, there's a big percentage also don't trust their data. And half of them experience significant implementation issues related to data quality and security. We've talked to a lot of customers around the world. As much as they love 365 Copilot, they piloted it and they realized their data estate is not in a place where Copilot can be leveraged organization-wide. So it's clear that building AI trust starts with a robust data foundation. Now, what do we mean by this? There's really 2 components to it. One, we need to make sure data quality is good. And second is we need to make sure data security is in place. So, man, when we talk about data quality, I'm sure you've seen organizations where they may just not have purged data from 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And you ask Copilot, hey, what's the latest on the TPS report? And they post data from 15 years ago,
no,
right?
It was
may not be relevant.
And I remember this when I was out selling in Microsoft. It's hey, we're moving to the cloud, but I need to migrate everything from SharePoint Server 2010 into the cloud. And the customer will do a wholesale migration without checking permission, checking to see if that's relevant. Mm-hmm. And it does create risk when that happens.
Yeah. And Copilot would look at that, right? Because it assumes that it's there, it must be useful. So this is where we can help. As the global leader in data security, governance, and resilience, our Confidence platform can make sure that you establish a robust data foundation in your 365 environment so you can maximize Microsoft Copilot. So how can you do this? 3 steps, right? The first step is our platform can help you prepare your data. This scenario, we talked about this already earlier. The blocker may be poor data quality because Copilot will output information that's in your tenant, and some of it may be outdated. And I also recognize that it may be a challenge, but Dux, you don't understand. We have terabytes or maybe petabytes of data that we can't just go through one by one and figure out what's redundant, outdated, or trivial. So, but we also know that the integrity and accuracy is important. So what do? Our technology can automatically identify, based on your business rules, what's redundant, what's outdated, what's trivial. And then not only will it identify it, we can take action. So maybe in your organization, you're mandated that you can only keep content, no more than 5 years due to some industry regulations, right? So our technology can look at that based on that policy, either move the content elsewhere or maybe get rid of it. Or maybe it's a departmental policy, right? So what you want to do is you want to ensure only accurate and relevant content are looked at and surfaced by Copilot. And not only do you do this one time, I would say, cleansing, but also on a regular basis, making sure that relevant data is in your environment, and you want to improve Copilot results. So what we're seeing here is our AvePoint Opus technology is a part of Confidence Platform. It understands your data to ultimately make good decisions on what content to keep, remove, and archive. And it gives you a great view into what you have, how old they are, things you want to keep, and things that may need to you need to get rid of. The next step is once you make sure that the quality of your data is relevant and good for Copilot to look at and surface, this important step is to secure your data. We talked about permissions already. And this is one of those things that's catch-22. What I love about 365 is I am empowered to share content or share workspaces to only relevant people. But at the same time, sometimes I may forget, right? Like, I don't know, I work with folks from the outside or external vendors. I share a PowerPoint document that's been shared externally. And after that, once the project is done, I forget that it's still being shared externally. And at the same time, Matt, how often do you get an email? Can I join your teams? Yeah. And what do? You just hit approve, right? You don't even think about it. And it's not because of malicious intent. You want to share information and make sure that people can get to what they need to get to. But sometimes there may be things there I'm not supposed to see, yet I see. So the challenge is, Copilot looks through all the information through the knowledge it has in Microsoft Graph, and it's reliant that all the permission settings are set up correctly. A lack of metadata sometimes in labeling limits identifying and managing the content. So what we could do with our technology is it could identify and easily manage sensitive information in minutes. Not only can it scan it, but also, again, take action, right? It can automate a lot of the data readiness and data security. And by looking at this, it can identify sensitive or overshared content. And how does it know? Well, we already have built-in rules, things like credit card number, social security number, bank information, or you can put in even rules that you need or you have based on your business. And by doing that, you can run a risk assessment to identify who has access to what, and then you can take action and make sure that only the right people have the right access to the information, which means that Copilot will only show what you're supposed to see. So that's the second step of securing your data. And we have customers from around the world taking advantage of this just to make sure that sensitive information is protected and we're preventing oversharing. The last step for making sure you have a successful deployment and adoption is you want to accelerate the adoption. the last thing you want is you do a pilot or you roll it out, people get excited for a couple weeks, and then that's it, right? And you want to drive impact and facilitate sustainable adoption. You want to see the behaviors. Where are people using Copilot most? Is it the chat? Is it on Word? Is it on PowerPoint? What department uses the most? What business unit uses the most? Just by having this insight, you can validate if your deployment are driving real results. Because from an ROI perspective, we know that this is a great investment and you get great benefits. But at the same time, if people aren't using it, the last thing you want is you get questioned, why did we get this thing, right? So we want to benchmark the different working behaviors in Copilot, and we want to find who the champions are. And if there are areas or groups in the business that may not be adopting as much, then maybe we provide more training, we provide more use cases. As Matt mentioned, we share more best practices, maybe build a prompt library. So by having insights and visibility into how it's being used is very, very important. And Matt, I'm sure you can share a whole lot more example, but I love the day in the life, right? That template is very helpful that they can get from adoption.microsoft.com. Anything else that you've seen with your customers that
I think
work really
first and
well in
foremost,
driving
everything
adoption?
we're talking about here, like let's remove the anxiety from your security team by ensuring we have a governance and security strategy. Then let's not just hand out licenses to anyone we want. Let's actually be thoughtful about who is going to pilot first. So my tip, this is what we've seen with our early adoption program last year, is don't just hand one license to every executive in your company. Pick a department and give at least 20, 30 people a license, but they have to work together and have them work together and share ideas and best practices. Because before you know it, the next department over and the next department, they're all going to want it too, and you'll have a best practice internally. That's where you see that success. So that's my tip.
You know, I love Matt honoring what he said when we started this. He said, I'm not here to sell. Notice he didn't say everybody should buy Copilot licenses. So I really appreciate you, Matt.
I am a shareholder. And do you want to see it? Just kidding.
So again, thank you everyone for joining us in this Ignite session. Hopefully you found it beneficial, and we would love to work with you. We're the global leader in data security, governance, and resilience, and we're so grateful for our partnership with Microsoft. And Matt, thank you for being a wonderful advocate in the last, over 10 years since we started in Days of SharePoint. But hopefully everybody enjoys the Microsoft Ignite. A lot of great sessions. And if you want to learn more, check out how our technology, the Confidence Platform, automates readiness, accelerated adoption, and maximizes Microsoft 365 Copilot ROI. Matt, thank you. If folks want to connect with you, where can they best find you?
I look like the picture. You'll find me.
Same here. Thanks again, everybody, and enjoy the rest of Microsoft Ignite.